Oh, well, hello, hello, hello. The inmates have truly taken over the nut house now, gentlemen. I mean, is it really that bad we lost to Rangers yesterday that I'm the only guy that can get drafted in as a host?
I think, to be honest, Dano, you shouldn't start the broadcast with hello, hello, hello. I mean, I
Yeah.
think people might think they're on.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
might think they're on the wrong podcast.
We're off to a quality start here. Anyways, welcome to a Celtic World. From Burbank to Gav's Bollocks, from Guangzhou to Glasgow. You are, wherever you are in a Celtic world, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. Dano here in Korea, of course, and David, Bangkok. How you doing today?
Yeah, hi Dano, hi Brian, hi folks in the chat. Remarkably good considering yesterday was the second day of our Bangkok Celtic convention. Started at 3:30, finished at about midnight, I think. So I was very glad that it wasn't a morning show for us in Bangkok. That would have been a bit of a challenge. So, like you, Dano, I've also been called in off the subs bench today.
Yeah.
But I think at least in our case, I think the subs bench is stronger than what we had against Sevco yesterday. So looking forward to a good chat. So over to you.
Yeah, and Brian, welcome back to the show. Always good to see you, man.
Sir, Andrew, and I really appreciated the therapy that you and Kaiser provided at the end of the game yesterday. And I would just like to say congratulations to Newcastle for their first trophy in 70 years.
Man, I know.
Brilliant.
Epic, huh?
Didn't even see the game, but it didn't even see our game, so nothing changes there.
Yeah, it's crazy because I mean they've been in a lot of finals. I'm not a lot, but a good couple handfuls over the past couple decades, and they just never seem to show up. It was good to see them win, man.
Yeah,
Somebody win.
It was good to see them win to take the the heat off us a bit. Everyone will be talking about the Newcastle result, first trophy in 70 years. So probably Wednesday before we're going to look at the internet again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as the agenda goes for today, let's put up the game plan here. So, all the feels. How are you guys feeling? What are the emotions of yesterday's absolute tragedy, especially in the first half? Police and thieves. Got a lot of drama with the Celtic board and the Green Brigade, and some drama with the cops as well that went down over the weekend. So then we'll go over the gruesome autopsy of the game itself. And are the Huns at the gates, gentlemen? We definitely need to ask that question. I mean, it's been 3 games in a row. Do we have a genuine problem, or is it just a little dirt off the shoulder overall? Who shat the bed for us? Who do we take out in the alley and shoot from our own team? Who had bad games? Who would you highlight who had decent showings? What do you think? And the fuck do we do now, man? Where to from here? I mean, it's good we've got a bit of an international break going on. But where do we go from here? I mean, this was the first loss at Celtic Park I can remember in a long, long time. So that's the format for today. Let's deal with number 1. How do we feel, gentlemen? Good, take it over to David.
Yeah, well, if yesterday couldn't get bad enough, my English team is Sunderland, and the idea that Newcastle won something for the first time in 70 years, it just rounded off the perfect day for me yesterday. What an absolute shit show. I think we need Stephen here for his catchphrase. Yesterday was pish. So really, it started off, so well, and then the referee blew his whistle and started the game. We were under the cosh for the first couple of minutes and panicked, and it managed to go downhill. I think I'll have nightmares about Schmeichel's pass in the first kind of 15 minutes. That, I mean, he's the best passer possibly in our team. It was just a nightmare. Despite that, a couple of the guys in our chat group, they watched the game again, this morning and kind of analysed it a bit when they were more sober. And we created tons of chances.
You really did.
Their goalkeeper played well, but we were so far off it. We'll come to that later on in the chat. But really disappointed. It was one of those ones where we were so close. There was only going to be one winner with 15 minutes to go. For whatever reason, we took our foot off the gas, allowed them back into it. I think there's been a lot of refereeing controversy. Overall, really, really gutted.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate having to use even that word, right? I mean, they're supposed to be disappointed. That's disappointed FC across town, man. Like, come on, like, goddamn, But that's the kind of Monday we're dealing with. So,
did anyone notice? Did anyone notice the players looked a bit? Usually they come on the pitch and they're dead happy, and there's something that didn't look themselves. Schmeichel's usually all smiles and happy and all the rest of it, same as AJ and Dyson. But there's something yesterday that didn't have that kind of look about them, coming onto the pitch. And it's almost as if they've had some bad news, which could be, if you take a step back, could Rodgers have said that this will be my last Glasgow derby, lads? I'm not putting the mockers on anybody, but the team, it's like, do you remember the final when they come out and then Ange left and they won the game 1-0? It was a real scrappy game. I think it was against Hearts or something, I can't remember. But when they come out, usually Schmeichels are loving the atmosphere and just dead happy. But I didn't get that yesterday. I didn't get that vibe about the team. I mean, coming out to play your biggest rivals, and you've won the league, at least have a smile on your face. But there was something that didn't have that yesterday. Even when it was somebody sent into the chat, when I think it was Paul or yourself. No, it was yourself, David, when they were coming onto the bus. The team, and they just didn't look themselves. They didn't look usually sort of happy and smiley and waving, but they didn't. None of them. So I don't know. Maybe conspiracy theory number 4 from me, but it just didn't look. They didn't look themselves.
Where were the first 3?
Well,
I don't know. They just struck me like they were in kind of business mode. I mean, but you might be right. I don't know. But yeah, they just didn't seem to have a lot of pep in their step. But I mean, just overall, the defense was a complete mess, and midfield as well. Midfield was just non-existent in the first half, along with Kuhn. So what is that? Like 9/11 of our team was basically off it, right, for the entire first half. I mean, Jota and Maeda struck me as the only sparks, even though Navratsky didn't play terribly. The group as a unit played awful, man. I mean, they were just so out of sorts.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Was disappointed with the lack of leadership. Sorry, David, to cut across you. We all talk about leaders in the team, and we've got AJ, we've got Schmeichel, we've got. I just didn't think we had too many leaders on the pitch, and in the back of my head, I was thinking, well, next year we'll have KT at left back, and I was just almost making excuses, and I know sometimes I think to myself, McGregor is world class, and I don't give him enough credit. But Jesus, he was missing. He was missed yesterday. He was missed big time.
Yeah. So, I mean, any thoughts? I mean, we started off, as David mentioned, right? I mean, just under the gun. So, I mean, moving on from there, it was pretty much, it felt like that, I think, for the entirety of the first half. But I had kind of like weird out of body moments where they were showing possession and things like that. They just kind of flashed it up on the screen on the broadcast. We had like 72% possession or something. I mean, it was ridiculous. And Mahesh was mentioning earlier, big up to Mahesh, we had like a XG like 3.4 to 1.8 or something like that. So I don't know. Do you think that the slow start kind of permeated everything in that first half? I mean, I felt like it did.
Yeah, I think Brian touched on something there in terms of the lack of leadership. And you remember a few years ago when we beat them 3-2 at the Bigot Dome, and we conceded a goal in the first 2 minutes, and the atmosphere was absolutely crazy. You know, the Huns fans were going absolutely mental. You know, we could have collapsed that day, but we had leaders on the pitch. You know, Brown. Did his pass up the wing when he was getting fouled. You know, I think it was Dembele that scored. And even that game when we went down to 10 men, you know, we still had leaders on the pitch. We still didn't panic. But we panicked yesterday. I don't know if it was just feeling sorry for themselves that, you know, McGregor was missing. You know, I do think this is something that we've talked about a few times in terms of the transfer window in January, where we should have been looking at an opportunity to build from a position of strength. You know, whether or not you like Miller from Motherwell, you know, there's options that we should have been buying. The chances that we keep hold of, you know, Hatate or, you know, Engels for a much longer. We need to be having people in place. And if you look at the bench we had yesterday, there was nobody who could come on. Nobody.
Yeah. I mean, the bench seemed totally empty. Go ahead, Brian.
We've been very lucky with injuries this season. James E. Forrest, you know, we've had a Tate for the whole season. We haven't lost Dyson too much, but the first sort of the cracks appeared whenever obviously Scales hasn't been great all season. He was a good sort of first half of the season. So losing Scales, losing Trusty, we haven't really been in that kind of position before. And then the injuries start. Were any of the players yesterday just sort of playing with injuries just to get a team on the pitch? Do you think? I mean, AJ was off it, and even CCV wasn't great. So
how they played makes you wonder, doesn't it?
You know, we have been lucky with injuries this season, but we came under a lot of stress in terms of, you know, the defence was stress tested. And to be honest with you, the fact that the Huns scored early and then they scored again, they're in a position of they've never been in that kind of position for so long against us, and that's something that's unheard of, you know. So again, you know, Barry Ferguson set his team up well based on the players that we had, and you know, when you have the likes of Schlup, who I've been a big fan of all season, having a bit of a nightmare, the amount of balls he was sitting that were just, you know, usually he's like a Rolls Royce, you know, he sort of just goes through games in second gear or third gear. But he looked like he was spooked yesterday. There was something, I don't know, something definitely underlying from yesterday. I don't know what it could be, but I'm sure we'll find out down the line.
Yeah. Now, Lost in BKK is bringing up a good question for us. I think we can cover it right now. Can the host explain why Ralston was not brought on?
Yeah.
Fair question. I can't. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but then again, AJ had a couple of sitting chances, man. I mean, he could have really turned that game around. But what do you guys think?
Ralston's not good enough. You know, and for me, Alistair Johnston at 70% is better than Ralston.
I think so too.
You know, the fact that in the very last minute, you know, it was Alistair Johnston that missed the fairly easy chance, but he was in the box. He was trying. I think in the second half, everyone stepped up. they had made mistakes. They probably got a bit of a bollocking off Rodgers at half time, and I think that if we had kept the momentum going, it was quite surprising for me when we scored the first goal, and then we were all over them for about 2 minutes, and then the tempo went down again. I think the Rangers' tactics and the referees' tactics were really geared towards slowing us down. But then we got the second goal, and again we were all over them for a couple of minutes, and again the tempo went down. But really, we were creating so many chances. I just thought it was inevitable that we would come through, and but yeah, I mean, clearly, Alistair Johnson was poor. Carter Vickers was poor. I thought Nabrowski actually played pretty well, apart from the sitter he missed with the header. But I would still, and I think again this goes back to the transfer window issue. If we don't have Alistair Johnston, the drop from him to Ralston is dramatic. And it's no offence. I mean, I think Ralston always plays his heart out. Absolutely, all the cliches of a heart and sleeve, etc.
But you want two people competing for the same jersey,
Sure.
I love Ralston, but he's not competing.
Yeah, I like him.
If we had somebody of Shaloup's kind of quality competing with AJ, I would try and get AJ to up his game. But Sutton came out with a great thing yesterday. He says, Rangers play well when the pressure's off, and I think he pretty much said, like, if Celtic had to win the game yesterday, they would have. And I believe that. I do believe that it's never a dead rubber against your rivals, but really, the league's won, and I would rather be in our position than theirs any day of the week. It's a tough one to swallow, but in a good way. If we had won out yesterday, and all the chat before the game was like, "Oh, we're going to win 5-1, 7-0, this, that, and the other." I had a bad feeling about yesterday, and I just didn't. I didn't want to. I just wanted to keep it to myself. But it just, if we'd went out and absolutely horsed them yesterday, then we'd think everything's rosy. But that just shows everything isn't rosy. We lose a couple of players, 3 key players, in Trusty. When I say 3 players, I'm talking about Trusty, Scales, and Calmack. And when you put Jamesy into that, in terms of the squad, because we'll have a tight squad of about 18 that we can call on. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe we do. We need the upper game in terms of getting a decent centre half in, and if CCV and AJ and a couple of boys have got their heads turned, well, let them move. And thank God they're all on 5-year contracts. We'll get a couple of. I'd love to see a couple of big German centre backs in, just physical. I thought we lacked physicality yesterday, and there was we need somebody with a bit of steel, and you don't need to be a hard man to have a bit of steel about you. You don't need to be a dirty player, but somebody that's physical. I mean, your man, what do you call him, Raskin, who's 5'3", scores a header. That should never be, that should never be up there an equation, But again, the team have went to the trough so many times. They've done well. It's disappointed. I'm disappointed for Rodgers, because Rodgers would have wanted, in the press conference before the game, he was like, "What do you make of Barry Ferguson?" He says, "Well, they've lost, they've won, then they've lost again, and then they won, and then So he says not really much has changed, But look, it's long term, but it is a tough one to take, especially at home and especially on Paddy's Day. And with them scumbags being back into the park again, it doesn't help matters. But hey, let them win the consolation cup. Let them,
the moral victory cup. Man, they have a lot of them. They have a lot of them. Now, I wanted to move on to talk about this drama with the tifo not getting put up pre-game. It seems like the Green Brigade is getting a lot of heat, not only from the Celtic board, but it seems like from the police after the game. Anybody familiar with what's going on here?
I saw some of one of the lads posted some of the statements made by the Green Brigade yesterday, and I just don't understand. I mean, the Green Brigade, for me, they add so much value
Yeah.
You just can't put a value on what they've added for us.
Right.
You know, it's an atmosphere. I mean, if you look at from Barcelona and some of the fantastic tifos that we've had.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of money, the amount of effort, the amount of skill and talent that goes into making these things is just extraordinary.
Yeah.
And when you look at the red card to Israel over our stance supporting Palestine, I mean, that was recognised worldwide. I think there was it 150 clubs or 100 countries, or it was just magnificent. And I think the Green Brigade, when you have the flares and stuff like that, it's but whether or not that's the Green Brigade doing that, but overall, I think the Green Brigade are a fantastic asset to our football club, and the way they've been treated, I think is deplorable.
I mean, we sometimes can be the architects of our own downfall. They were allowed back into the pitch, the park yesterday, and then we decide to not really support the Green Brigade. It's like, that's like an extra member. That's an extra member for the defence. You know what I mean? Having them there and taking corners and whatever else. Did anybody noticed it was around coming up to half time? There was a bit of an altercation with the Rangers bench and a couple of our fans, and there was actually a well-known Celtic contributor, or has his own show. I forget the guy's name, but I recognised him. But did anyone know what was that all about? Because next thing you know, you see, it was almost like the Sky were building up to something that didn't happen. Did anyone know what was going on there, or did anyone see it?
No.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I saw was when they scored the third goal, and it went a bit crazy then. I think Czerny.
Czerny pouring liquid on the crowd or something.
Yeah, he was at it.
I heard.
I mean, Ferguson. He was delighted. I wouldn't necessarily say he was at it, but Czerny was definitely. We should be looking at a ban. We should be looking at something. And this isn't being, a bad loser or anything like that. But those are the type of incidents that incite a riot or a big event in the stadium. So I think, again, being the Celtic paranoid person I am, I think if that had been in the other foot, that would have been all over the papers. I've not seen any sort of media today, but I guess that's not getting mentioned.
Yeah, I really can't wrap my head around this board coming down on the Green Brigade, banning them from the park. I mean, like you said, David, they've been a credit to the club, basically. I mean, if you're talking about true fans, guys who are really doing it and raising money, putting together unbelievable tifos. They've done it all, man. I mean, they're like a model for ultras in Europe. So, like, what are we doing? Is it all over the Palestine thing? Is it all over the Israel, September 7th, etc.?
I think. Well, we don't get political.
Maybe that's the spark. I don't know.
It was the Bick McFarlane tifo, the Republican gentleman that passed away recently. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And whilst nobody's going to come out and be an apologist, they have to realize that that's where our fans are they have that heritage, and that's why we've always been the outsiders. We've always been no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. Kind of thing, without going down the political route. But that's that's part of our makeup. But it's part of our makeup, and somebody said a podcast, it was the E-Tims or something. They're happy to sell the Green Brigade's not merchandise, but pictures of tifos and things like that in the Celtic shop, and when it suits them, and charge 25 quid. And then they do that. They're treating the fans very shabbily, I think. And I think maybe, I don't know, maybe that was the reason the players were a bit, off them, weren't looking too good because they missed the atmosphere, they missed the. I don't know. There's a real disconnect between, Celtic directors and the fans, the man on the street or the woman on the street, kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't really not really happy with Rangers fans coming back to Celtic Park. I don't think it brings anything. Sometimes it brings out the worst in us. I would be happy not to have them back anywhere near the park. Really. Just we were singing "You Never Walk Alone," and then all you hear is "Hello, we are the Billy Boys," and that's meant to be a hate crime. That song, up their necks and Fenian blood,
right?
It's so nothing gets done. It's like your man throwing the lighter, and not the lighter, the vape at that the goalkeeper, and then they're sort of laughing it off as if to say, "It was only a vape."
It was only a vape, right? There's a bit of difference, for Christ's sake. Yeah.
They're just Neanderthals, and I don't care. I don't even want to talk about. I don't even like using their name. Sorry, lads. It hurt me yesterday.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, we're all feeling it, man. We're all feeling it.
As you can see, sponsored by. So anyway,
let's get on to issue number 3 a bit. So a little bit of an autopsy of the game. Now, Rangers, their first goal, I found to be one of the most inexplicable, confusing, and just downright unbelievable things I've seen all week, which is Raskin scoring a header for a goal. Right before that, he had a bullet that Casper saved, right? And I was like, what is Raskin doing playing football here? It was a very unfamiliar feeling. And then he scores a header. What's going on here, boys?
Yeah, just I think he's got good movement. I mean, if you look at Dyson's not the tallest, and the number of headers he's scored in the last couple of months is really impressive. Raskin is just a little runt, but it shows you though that I think if you practice your corners, I'm not convinced that we ever seem to practice our corners. It generally leads to nothing. But if you do, if you show a bit of speed, and I think maybe the fact that we were missing Scales, he was always good for that front post. When I'm talking in an attacking sense,
and Trusty as well, David,
and Trusty,
either of them.
So these are two people that that have done well for us in the past, and also they would have done better, defending. Although I mean, Schlupp is much taller than Raskin, but when you've got someone running at pace and got a good jump on him, I mean, he took his header very well, but it should never have been allowed to happen. It was way too easy. And way too just disappointing as tough pen.
But that was their game plan, to get something to hold on to. That was their game plan, and it worked. And then the second goal goes in, and it's like time for me to. I didn't have the Hoover out. I ended up going out the back of an old settee. I was breaking up and trying to get rid of the springs. So that's what I did. I'll be honest with you. I was raging, and I was trying to be calm, and I just couldn't see a goal coming, and I just thought, I need to take my frustration out. So I got the what do you call it, the big hammer? What do you call them things for what my memory is called? Sledgehammer. Got a sledgehammer out and started breaking the sofa up, and I'm sure the neighbours were delighted at that. But and then. Didn't even go back in for the second half. Well, it did, and then Dyson scored, so I managed to sit down again. But it's just a horrible day. Just too much.
Well, obviously the horrible day continued from there. Now, We had a couple good opportunities. I mean, Hatate had a nice shot in on goal, and I mean we didn't get completely bossed around, but I mean the next thing that comes up is obviously the Schmeichel mispass later in the half. Which, what is that? I mean, we're on 15 minutes already, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, it was like that's a goal. Like there is no way. There's no way this isn't going in. I mean, we were completely caught with our pants down. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable. I think the fact that it was such a bad pass, no one was ready for it. Because quite a few times in the first half, we really got away with it. We kept doing kind of aimless passes with a bit of pace, fortunately, so we kind of bounced off their legs and sort of go out for a corner. But it would have just taken a couple of times for them to control our missed passes, and we could have been, 3 or 4 down. The Schmeichel, I mean, that was just that was madness, absolute madness, and it was such a bad pass. You don't even know roughly which player he was aiming for. It was no.
It just went straight to Tierney. It just went straight to him. Yeah. But do you think that Tierney was so surprised and shocked that he didn't really know the right thing to do right in the moment? Because it seems to me, looking at that play, that he needs to just loft the goalkeeper, just chip the goalkeeper, and it's an easy goal. But I have a feeling like he was so surprised to suddenly have the ball. He didn't quite know what to do with it. What do you guys think, Brian?
I'm just sorry. I'm looking at the comments here, guys. I think there's a few people from the dark side or
the Hunnick persuasions.
Yes, or winding a couple of the regulars up, but
no,
we didn't
coming out of my radar.
We didn't do yourselves any favors yesterday, and
no,
that's the first time I think in a long time they've been 2 up against anybody, let alone ourselves. Again, I was smashing up the City out the back at this stage, but sorry, man.
Well, David,
the one thing I would, I just want to say that in terms of Leanne's comment there, in terms of Leanne's comment, I wouldn't drop Schmeichel.
No,
we don't know how good Sinizalo is, but let's get the league title. Let's win our next game, our next couple of games, and once it's mathematically over, then we can give our fringe players a sort of a run, etc. But this is not the time for me to be sort of throwing Schmeichel under the bus. It was his worst performance. But look at time and time again. I mean, this was only the third home. It was only the third home game this season that we've conceded a goal. It is a little bit worrying that it's kind of 10 goals or 9 goals against them in the last 3 games.
3 games,
and and I think we've conceded 4 against Dundee or however many it was. So we have conceded more recently, but I wouldn't be dropping Schmeichel. Definitely not.
No, I mean, if we're talking about what it's been like to go from Hart, who we love, to Schmeichel, I don't think there's any comparison, man. The guy is a beast between the sticks. So he had a bad game, man. I mean, almost everybody, aside from ironically Navratsky, who everybody was worried about before the game, had terrible games back there in our defensive half.
But is it not good that we have a terrible game when the league's won than having a terrible game maybe 4 or 5 games into the season? This is the business end of the season, and we are a team and we're a squad, and we were missing several key players in the squad. But ultimately, we lost yesterday. Bigger picture time, we're going to win the league, and we're close to winning the Rebel treble. So you can pick up these wee dead rubber wins and celebrate like you've won the Champions League, or you can take a step back and look at it methodically. And fair play to Paul, and it might have been yourself, David, who put up the chances that we had in the game. That Navratsky header, which was could have went in. They didn't. What's his name? Hatate have a chance that goes in. It's a different game.
We might have just before half time.
Yeah, as well. So
yeah,
great clearance.
Now getting to more of the horror. Rangers' second goal. Igamane scored the final goal.
Diamande was at it. No,
Diamande. What are your thoughts on how that went down? We are completely discombobulated on that play. I mean, just absolutely pants down, man.
Yeah, Rodgers was, he was pretty upset post-match. I mean, it was just, we struggled with their press. The ball goes for a throw-in. 2 seconds later, there's a cross. Again, should have been avoided, should have been cleared, should have been dealt with. It was, I think someone said in the chat group that, if you called it schoolboy error, you would have been doing a disservice to the schoolboys. It was really, it was poor stuff. And and from then it was just, let's get to half time and see if we can regroup.
Yeah,
but again,
is this gonna end? Brian, thoughts on that second goal?
Well, it shouldn't have happened, and it happened, and the thing about it is it was disappointing because it's our home turf, and I remember watching Brendan saying this is paradise for us, but we want to make it hell for everyone else, and we were making it hell for ourselves, but
certainly did yesterday.
It's I'm going to move on to the second half, and Kuhn just, I don't know, there's something, he's signed a contract with somebody, I don't know, his head's turned since Scott Arfield says Jota, like in the commentary,
kills me.
Jota, and then Sutton goes, yes, Jota. But where's the silent, Jose Mourinho, it's Jose, the Portuguese.
Spanish.
It's not,
And even if you said Jota, that would sound stupid in Spanish too.
Yeah.
Like what language do you think? Exactly. He's not.
And that got my goat up. I was a wee bit irritable yesterday, and I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Whenever your mom was going, and no, he's Scottish. Was like, yeah, Jota. And I was like, mate, shut the I was close to phoning Sky TV yesterday. I was in that form and saying, can you just
can you please just say names correctly? I mean, make a semblance of it. Yeah.
Odson Edward. That's what Packy Bonner said about Odson Edward. Edward. Yeah, get Edward on. He's great. Make an effort, mate.
I mean, at least,
like, Jesus Christ.
At least that's a
to do one thing.
I mean, at least that's the anglicized semblance of the name from French, right? I mean, Jota is nobody. Jota is some guy who lives in the hills in Finland or something. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That movie. What was that movie about the guy?
Star Wars.
No. Do you know the one about that? There's this. Is it the Finnish guy? And then it's towards the end of World War II. Geez, it's a great movie. He's like a farmer or a gold. He's a farmer, but he finds a load of gold in Finland, and then the Nazis come in, and it's like Jota or something. It's called. I'll find the name of it, but it's a great show.
If it's called Jota, I will die. That's just gonna be it for me. I'm fucking done. Like if I just called that out of my hat, if it's called Jota. Oh man,
second half. Bring Anita on, try bringing it back in again. I would love if we had a player that, if you could bring them on like a Vinnie Jones, just bring a real hard, horrible git on, just like what they did with Tom Lawrence, coming on and just somebody just to let them know we're here. And Scales, the movie Sisu, yeah, sorry, Jota. Sisu, that's
Jota.
a great show. You know me, it's always close, Jota, Sisu, you know, rolls off the tongue. But you know, somebody we could just bring on, just you know, Scales can leave a bit on. So can Ralston. We didn't have anybody that. I know that's not our game plan, but horses for courses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was happy that he'd come on, and he, you know, I was actually thinking, and hear me out, you know, there's always one. We're always going like where we're going to play Ida. I would stick him as centre back.
What?
I would put him in the centre back. You know, we're sitting there, we're sitting worrying about. No, but we're worrying about defenders. Sutton was
What
able
the
to
Yota
do
are
it.
you talking about, man?
What the Yota?
Wow, that was a take I wasn't expecting, Brian.
That was
you know,
that was a
I was thinking of
long
maybe
meandering road right there, my friend.
Yeah.
But I like finding out where these things are going. I always love listening to you talk, Brian. Now,
dude, I don't know where it's going. That's the thing. It could end up in. But
hey man, that's the beauty of the whole thing. Nobody knows where this is going. We're all on the same train, and you know we'll just get to the destination. Now, on to sunnier shores, shall we say? Second half starts. Kuhn is off, and that seems to be generally Kuhn's pattern. I mean, Kaiser and I were talking a lot about this during the game last night. Kuhn is just the past month, 6 weeks. I mean, not the same player
since Yota has come back.
But you know, I mean, it is noticeable how much Kuhn is getting bossed around by the Hunnick left back. French guy. What's his name? It's slipping my mind right now. Anyways, he has not had a good game against Rangers at all for a long time, Kuhn. So yeah, this is. You say his head's turned, Brian.
No, I think he's gone. I really do. I think he's checked out, and it was all about him the first half of the season, and now there's a big sexy Portuguese gentleman coming in by the name of Yota. It's sort of stolen his thunder a wee bit, and then Maida has been playing it, so he's no longer the go-to guy. And I think he's looking at Newcastle, and you know, let him go. We've just maximise, get the money, get him out, but replace him with something that's decent. But since Yota has come in, he hasn't done anything. I was looking at Plunge's comments.
Yeah. Jepte, big up to Tommy for pointing that out. Jepte. I mean, Kuhn has looked lost against him. Definitely the last 3 games.
I'll tell you what,
Yang can't do anything.
Yang would be in for me from the start for future games, and give him a run of about 4 or 5 games, and let Kuhn work with his agent to get a move, and anyone else who is looking to get a move and whatever, just get them gone.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder with Kuhn's injury, is it a matter of recovering from the injury? Maybe he's still not 100%. Maybe he's just off it. Maybe he's not totally fit. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I don't know how much of a coincidence it is that, you know, it is, you know, sort of with Jota coming back, it really did seem to, the timing was just almost exactly the same. You know, Jota came in and his performance dropped massively. You know, he's still a brilliant player. We see it kind of a couple of minutes a game. I mean, the first half of the season, you would have been a lunatic if you weren't saying he was going to be player of the season. He was miles ahead of everyone in Scotland, miles ahead of Maeda, miles ahead of everyone in our squad. And the drop in performance, it's been like watching Aberdeen. You know, they were brilliant for the first half of the season, and then they became like St Johnstone or whatever. It was crazy. Like it's gone from like
And I
10
don't
out of
think
10 to 2 out of 10.
I don't think he's been good in the Champions League either. He looked good the first of the early couple of games, but certainly I don't think he was anything too brilliant in the Bayern game. I don't know. Just he does have that look about him. His face is always tripping him, and maybe it's annoying. Maybe because James, he's not on his heels. Because the Forrest was the one that was, if Kuhn wasn't on his game, then Forrest would be on, and he doesn't have anybody breathing down his neck now. Kuhn's starting to breathe, not Kuhn, Yang starting to breathe down his neck. And
Yeah,
I would love Yang to get a run 4 or 5 games because
something
He
else.
deserves it.
Yeah, it's something else about Kuhn that I'm kind of wondering about. Do defenses have him figured out? Because he seems like if he doesn't get in behind you with his speed, or he can't get past you and go pretty much only to his left to get towards the middle of the field, there's nothing else in the locker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know about that.
Have defenses figured him out?
No, I don't think so, Daniel. I think he's a much better player than he sees a pass. There's been many games this season where he's played a fantastic through ball, for whatever reason, and then obviously him and Johnston had a brilliant relationship, going down the right wing. That part of it seems to have sort of faded a little bit. No, for me, he's definitely a player. He's a and I don't think people have sussed him out. I just think that his head's gone down, and a lot of these things, a lot of these players, it's confidence. If you look at him, he hadn't scored for ages, and then he scores a few goals, and and starts, his control improves as he gets more confident, as he scores more goals, and it's a bit of a sort of virtuous circle. But no, for me, I agree with Brian. It's probably somebody's turned his head. Maybe there's an agent out there that's told them that you want to get into the German team. A bit like the Japanese manager that said to Kyogo, you have to leave Celtic if you want to progress your international career. So no, for me, he's definitely a player. Definitely a player. You don't have that level of performance and goals and assists.
Sorry, David. Could this happen? Could he go to Brighton and then we get big sexy Matt back? Because he's not getting a sniff at the minute. Could that be it?
I think he's had injury as well.
Has he had injuries as well?
I think he'd had injury at the start. Obviously, he got hacked out in his first game. But then I think he had some sort of illness. But it's true that he has been struggling to impose himself. I think if Kuhn leaves, we'd be looking at a high profile, experienced winger, someone who can take that, the first team spot for me. It wouldn't be like for O'Reilly, but I'd be delighted to get O'Reilly back.
Oh man, yeah, I mean that would be amazing. Now, I mean we're only basically at halftime here, gentlemen. We're like 50 minutes in, so generally speaking, Celtic come out in the second half. What are you noticing is different about their energy? What things did you notice that were making a difference as we kicked off the second half? Obviously, we played much better. We got 2 goals back eventually. But who do you think?
Alameda.
What do you think made a big difference?
Was the focal point, and he has a bit of steel about him as well. And when switching him and up the middle, and then putting Dyson out in the left. No, hold on. No, who went to the right? My God,
I think Jota. Yeah, Jota. No, I got confused too. We were
Jota went out to the right.
Watch along.
Jota went out to the right.
They moved Jota on the right. But I mean, when those two guys were together, under Ange, they would do a little switcheroo here and there. They'd be kind of fluid between each other. So I'm not sure if that was the case yesterday, but yeah, it was definitely Jota on the right the first time I saw.
And I noticed Ida was right on the halfway line, because that's it was very crowded. The pitch was crowded in the midfield yesterday, so he was getting back in. Again, bit of steel about him and a bit of kick, and there was a lot. He can draw foul. I know that's not what we're all about, but he did draw a couple of fouls, and there were opportunities for maybe set play, a couple of set pieces, but getting that goal within so many minutes was just, oh my God. I saw the blonde hair. I actually thought it was McCann scored. I know how can you how can you make the difference between Dice and McCann?
I was to be honest, I was kind of hoping it was
I was hoping it was McCann. Yeah,
because he had such a bad first half. I mean, he had a rough one. So I was kind of hoping
he was
Maeda.
I like McCann. I like McCann. He's living the dream. He's one of us.
I like McCann too.
He was a wee bit. Maybe he was trying too hard yesterday.
But that's a lot of pressure. I mean, he's basically wearing Cal Mack's boots for that game. For that game.
Yeah.
And that's hefty lifting, man.
Did you think Engels was maybe playing two positions yesterday? He was almost like trying to play Calmac and then almost trying to play his own role. He got sort of caught somewhere in between.
I mean, if he was,
I thought he did a good game.
He wasn't the only guy on the pitch.
Good game.
There were a lot of guys playing 2-3 positions, just kind of trying to cover gaps and get back. And I mean, I don't know. It's just that kind of game. But what do you think, David? Sorry to cut you off.
No problem. No. I think that we talked earlier on about leadership, and there's a few times, especially in the second half, where Engels is shouting at the players. Speed it up, pass it forward. Show a bit of desire. We forget he's 21, 22 years old. I think we'll sell him for a fortune at some point.
I agree.
And I thought he really tried to sort of show that sort of captaincy type leadership that was lacking throughout the pitch. I thought he did well. Really, when you look at the game again, you look at some of the highlights and you see what he was doing and what he was trying to do, but not even when he didn't have the ball. He was still trying to encourage the players. It was so frustrating. We scored a goal, and then we just went back into that sort of tepid, sort of tippy tappy. Allowed them to get back into the game, and then we got the second goal and did the same thing. So I think it was frustrating, but for me, Engels really played well. Hatate, I'm always his number one fanboy on here, but he could have a hat trick yesterday.
Yeah,
I mean the shot in the first half was a brilliant save by the goalkeeper, and then he had that one where he took it on the volley. Halfway through the second half.
I was sure that was in. I was positive that was a goal.
Hit the side netting. But I'd like to pick up on Pegleg's point there. Some people have been saying, "Oh, this is a meaningless game, and the Huns only win meaningless games." This is the third game in a row that we haven't done that. When you're playing at the Bigot Dome with no fans, the pressure can be a lot for some people. But this was the opportunity for us to go and show, who's the number one here. And there's no doubt. I mean, we are far better than them. I'm not, saying that, there's a gulf between us and them. But if you look at the last 3 games we've played, you really wouldn't think so. And I think we have to be looking at ourselves, and this is up to Rodgers now to address that for when we play them. So even although when it comes to by the time we play them, we'll have won the league, probably 10 points clear, 15 points clear, whatever. But it would still be important for me to batter them or at least beat them in the last game of the season at their and so that we're setting the standard, for the start of next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this kind of segues into the next point. I mean, are the Huns at the gates? Do we need to be worried? I think so. I mean, like not for this season, but 3 games in a row, man. We've got to win this last game. I mean, even if it's a dead rubber game at the end of the season, we got to go there and smack them up, man. Honestly, can't have it, man.
You know, Rodgers was the coin the phrase was the Hun scalper manager, and he doesn't have that title at the minute. I think there's another Neanderthal in the chat, Dano.
Yeah.
So no, it's not. He would take that. Rodgers will not be happy with that because he was the guy. I remember he came out and he said, Rangers are coming. They've always been coming, and then the whole 6 managers that he's seen off, but disappointing. Yeah, the coin phrase.
Can I just say it's my fault. Before the last Huns game where we lost 3-0, I had sent Gav a song about Rodgers being a Hun scalper.
It's all your fault, David. God damn it!
It's all my fault. That song will fortunately never see the light of day. So I think it's important that we keep the song quality up to Gavin's standards. But as soon as I started singing about Rodgers being a Hun scalper, the wheels have come off. So I do.
In your defence, David, I think the moment that we lost the game was whenever I put a $5 bet. That's 2-1 Celtic to win the game when we're 2 each, and I thought that's money from America. And then lo and behold, a couple of minutes later, the Mikey Mob scored. Sorry.
I had a moment during the watch along during our worldwide CSC, and if anybody wants to take part in that, you should hit us up at a Celtic World on any social media if you want to take part with Kaiser and I for one of these games. I actually thought we were going to have somebody this weekend, but I guess not. And that brings me to another point. Happy birthday to Big Dez, because I think he's going to be kind of our first guest on Worldwide CSC. But I was mentioning during the game, I was like, how fucking hopeless is Dessers, right? And I was like, this guy is just awful, right? Like, don't speak too soon, Deno. Like, Kaiser got the heebie-jeebies about it. He kind of hit the side netting or had a decent shot. And I was like, oh, it's all my fault. Like, right when he hit it, I was like, oh, that's a goal. He just missed. I was like,
he did a nice move, Dessers. To be fair to him,
it would have been a nice goal. Yeah.
He did a wee. I don't know. There used to be a player who would have done it all the time. Stephen Ireland. That it was a sort of step around or something. I don't know what the name of the terminology is, but he's another one. He always looks happy. He's a player that always looks a happy kind of guy. Even when they're coming in, there's ones that come into the park and that their heads would be down, but he always seems a bit of a smiler. Your man Dessers, you know what I mean? I don't dislike him. I don't particularly like him, but I don't know. No, there's a team that I always had a thing. I know there's me going off on one again. I always admired George Alberts. I thought he was a great player, and we would have loved us to have him because of the left-hand side, because his left foot, he was great left peg. But, that's a sign that, I despised your wee man with the Goldilocks, didn't like him, the ex-Norwich player. But I don't particularly dislike too many of the Rangers players, which is usually a sign that they're not very good. But there we go. I don't know what I'm talking piss. Yes, of course, Monty. Yep.
Well, on that note, who wins our Stephen McCutcheon Pish Memorial trophies for yesterday's terrible performances? Who you guys got? Who was bad?
Coon.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Coon.
Carter Vickers had his worst game of the season. Schmeichel had his worst game of the season. But no, Kuhn gets the Stephen McCutcheon.
Kuhn gets the urine-filled cup.
Don't be saying that, or you'll be having the Huns in the chat group trying to drink it.
Well, I've already had to ban 2 of those jerkwads, man. But whatever.
Yeah,
They're both named James. Kind of weird. I think it's the same guy. Yeah. But anyways, Brian, Kuhn for sure.
Kuhn, yeah. No shadow of a doubt. If he was an empty jersey yesterday, and as a result of, not directly as a result of him, but the fact that he was not playing to his best and positionally was a bit off, that led to 2 goals. And fair play us, we recovered, got back to 2 each, and then it was written in the hellfire of Mordor that they would win yesterday.
I like this line from Alpha. There were 9 in Chams yesterday.
Yeah, in Cham.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Didier had his moments. What's up? Well, anyways, so we're looking forward to the international break. Now, this Thursday is mostly pre-recorded. I'm not sure if I'm hosting that again. I'm sure as hell I'm not going to be saying hello at the start of that broadcast. But for our final point, is there anything to worry about here? I mean, I don't think we got to worry about the league or anything like that. I mean, still, but 13 points. I mean, the league is.
Who did we get in the semi-final of the cup?
St. Johnston.
St. Johnston. We're in the final. We're in the final. I don't want to sound, but we're there. We're there.
Yeah. But I think some. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think there'd be a couple of people. I remember going back to what Ange Postecoglou said. Don't fall in love with these players because they may not be here for much longer. And I think we will lose a couple of players that were. I think CCV and Kuhn could be gone, but we're getting Tierney back in, and if we could engineer a move, I think the guys are working away. I think they're working away behind the scenes to get people in, but it's a bit of a wake up call. For us.
I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to a good performance at home. We got Hearts next after the break. I think there's going to be some extra emphasis on that one. The Hun Junior, Huns Light
at Huns
Celtic Park. The beta Huns. So
Monty said I'm a double agent, Flipsy.
Yeah.
No chance, lad. No chance.
Yeah. Thoughts, David?
Yeah, I was just touching on the Alberts thing. The only real recollection I've got of Alberts is when he nearly kicked Lambert's head off, and I think he knocked about 3 teeth out of Lambert's face, and I think Lambert got booked for it. So no, I've got no. I can't say a good word for Alberts. Well, I can, but I would get it involves swear words, so I won't. No, I think for me, there's nothing to worry about this season. I think what we need to be looking at is building the squad. So that we don't end up in a situation where we're playing any game where 4 of the guys on the bench had never played a game for us in the league. So I think let's strengthen the squad. But this season we're miles ahead of them. They have got no money. The one good thing about yesterday is they might keep Ferguson and his happy squad. Sort of like a McGregor, etc. They've got no money. They've got cheap options. They've got Hadji and Cherney and whoever that are going to leave for free in the summer. So their financial situation is only going one way. So I've said a few times in this sort of podcast, they are irrelevant to us. We need to be thinking about what do we want to do. Let's strengthen us, not because of the Huns. Let's strengthen us because of what we did against Bayern Munich. We showed against Bayern Munich that we can actually compete at that level. Don't care about the Huns.
If that team played Bayern Munich, the team that played yesterday played Bayern Munich, it would have been on a 6-0 horsing. And it just shows you the fine margins, having the right people in the right place. And that we were stress tested. The squad was stress tested yesterday, and it came up short. And I wanted to say, I thought Nawrocki, for playing 23 minutes of football, what is that man doing or not doing that he's not getting a chance? Because I thought he was the only shining light really yesterday.
There was a moment that Kaiser touched on yesterday, and it just seemed like nobody was talking in our defensive backfield. Not the keeper, not anybody. There was a moment one of our players took it off his chest, kind of came down to just right in front of the goal, and then Hatate just kind of gives a little dink pass over to Nawrocki, and nobody's telling him that there's nothing behind him. He just kind of kicks it out of bounds for a corner because he's right in front of goal and he doesn't know what's going behind him. And Kaiser was just saying, man, nobody's talking back there. I don't know. It's a shocking.
I noticed that yesterday there was a couple of chances that we could have cleared it, but we just knocked it out for a corner or a throw. And that's not what we do. We would do we do the triangles and try and get back up the pitch again. But definitely there wasn't much communication. And Scales is a good communicator, as is Trusty as well. But
Brian,
another bad day at the office.
Brian, why is everybody up your ass in the chat? We've got people accusing you of living in the UK and being a double agent. What is going on?
What do they need? Right. Hold on. Don't need to get my Irish passport out. Hold on, I'll get it out. Where is it? It is about.
That doesn't prove where you are, man. Not on this flat earth.
Okay, I'll get my tattoos out.
Well, gentlemen, I think we've gone a bit over time. I think end of the day, man, it's not a big deal, but the international break couldn't have come at a better time.
Oh, flip. Yeah, international break. Usually,
right. Exhausted.
Celtic boxers. I've got the Chopstein's soup on a rope and the Tommy Barnes clock.
Well, speaking of that, by the way, and I forgot to mention it before the show, Brian, thank you for all those programs you sent me, man. Those are amazing.
Oh, dude, there's more where that came from. And, the 1888, the 1,880th subscriber will get a Celtic Barcelona program. From the Champions League, the one where we won 2-1, Tony Watt scored. So, like and subscribe, guys.
There it is, 1,888 subscriber. Ooh, a Barca program. Maybe I'm gonna unsubscribe when we get to it.
Yeah, well, I tried to do that.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Joking aside, I have a load of Celtic memorabilia programs and stuff from over the years. My late father collected, and they're in a box. I have them about the house. But if people want, contact Gav or in the chat, I'm glad.
I mean,
we're Celtic family. You know what I mean.
Two of them especially stood out to me. One of them was the game against Rangers where Nakamura scored that absolute screamer late in the season, and then Vanagor Passeling scored the winner really late on at the death. And that might be one of my favorite Celtic goals of all time. I mean, that might be the favorite Celtic goal of all time for me, that Nakamura goal. But then the Blackburn Rovers Europa League program too. I mean, that is. Anyways, Brian.
I tried to keep an Asian theme. There was one with Key on the front. Is Key still about? Or is he retired?
I think he's retired.
Yeah.
Keeson Young. Yeah.
I'd love to get somebody like him back in again. He was a great player for us. He was
he was a very good player. But let's see. No. Plays as a central midfielder for K-League Club 1. FC Seoul. So he's playing in the domestic league nowadays.
Donald, we need to get him back.
Yeah.
Get him back in.
Man. I mean, He's 36 now. He's definitely in his twilight years. I mean, well into them. But anyways, David, Brian, thank you for joining us. Appreciate everything you guys do for the show. And thank you to everybody who's in. Happy birthday to Big Des once again. And any final thoughts, gentlemen?
I'll be meeting Gav this weekend, so lock up your daughters.
Just make sure you have cameras out.
So don't worry.
What actually happened and things like that, you know.
So meeting Gav.
David in Bangkok, any parting shots?
Yeah, listen, I wish everyone a fantastic Paddy's Day. Hoping to persuade my darling wife to sitting beside me just now to take me to the pub for a couple of pints. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
So whether you go out, I hope you have a fantastic Paddy's Day. We're 13 points clear. The treble's going to be in the bag, and it's a fantastic time to be a Celtic supporter. Hail, hail, boys!
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Hail, hail to everybody in the chat. You guys are the ones that make this happen. And anybody who's watching, be sure to like and subscribe. We're still a growing channel, about 1,750 subscribers. Hint, hint for the Brian program sweepstakes.
Okay, I'm going to throw one out there. If we get up to 1798, the 1798th subscriber will get a Celtic quiz book if they want, you know.
Okay, all right. So there we have it. If you haven't done it already, smash the like and subscribe button. David in Bangkok, Brian in Ireland, not the UK.
Yes.
Huh? Come on. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Hail, hail.
Take care.
Hail, hail to all in the chat and on the show. That's going to do it. Hail, hail from Korea.